This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
The coverage of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series live tonight from Circuit of the Americas, just outside of Austin, Texas. I'm James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports, alongside our producer, broadcaster, do-it-all extraordinaire, Cisco Scaramuza this evening. And Cisco, I think we return to the same question that we asked last week to start, because we didn't get an answer last week. The question was, who will stop William Levesque from winning races? The answer we got last week was no one, though it was a little bit closer than it had been in some of the first few rounds of Series 2 of the PCA SRS. But still, Levesque going for 5 wins in a row to start the season tonight.
Yeah, it's a streak nobody has been able to stop, James. Good evening, everybody, and welcome here to Austin, Texas. And well, we wanted to know who would stop William Levesque. The answer was, well, William Levesque. He didn't stop anything. He's been on absolute fire here. And what do you expect from the driver out of the Porsche Esports Super Cup Series? This is a guy who understands these cars back to front, and you need to do that when you're racing amongst 30 plus of I think we could describe them as Porsche fanatics, Porsche fans, Porsche. They know everything about Porsche. They know more about Porsche than I know about my own heart.
It's a little bit terrifying and yet a little bit accurate all the same as we roll into racing here at Circuit of the Americas. But we'll take a moment to recognize some of the other drivers in the field. Levesque won the race, but there were a lot of really good runs at Watkins Glen. I look at Mike Neiden in particular, who's been such an instrumental part of the PCA SRS with the steering committee. All picked up 10 spots in last week's race at Watkins Glen to earn the Hard Charger Award. And we also had 5 drivers that finished Watkins Glen with 0 incident points, which I think might be a first in PCA SRS history. All of Matt Kikis, Christopher Pies, Liam Radzitis, Jim Patak, and Mike Neiden finished with 0 incident points. Kikis was the highest finishing driver of that group. He ended up P6 on the evening, but beginning to believe that as we progress through this series and as drivers get more accustomed to the 911 RSR and the differences between this car, which is DTLM GTE spec, and then the 911 GT3 Cup car that was used in Series 1, they're getting a little bit more comfortable with this machine, and it makes it a little bit easier for them to drive.
Yeah, I have to agree, James. This is a car that was built on a very different idea. I mean, the Cup car was built to be just that, a Cup car. This RSR was built to go up against the rest of basically the manufacturing world, to go up there and knock off the likes of several other manufacturers. So this thing was built to the fullest extent to go out there and push the limits of what this AG group here can do. And I think it's done a fantastic job. And you know, there's a reason why, you know, this car is favored by so many drivers on the service, not just those here in the PCA, but this is a car a ton of road drivers just love to hop into, just because of the downforce and because of the, well, it's not a technical term, but the chuckability of this car. You know, you equate it to downforce and just the fact of you can move this car and you don't have to worry about nearly as much it coming back to bite.
I believe the term you might be looking for then is mechanical grip, Cisco, perhaps. But in either case, I definitely get the point. And, you know, to be fair, the real world credentials are already there. How about taking the opening round of the World Endurance Champion at Silverstone in class, the defending champions in class of the WEC, and I believe the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship as well. This 911, since they moved it to the shall we say, quote unquote, rear engine setup, has been very, very good.
Yes, it has. And well, that's a little bit about the car. Let's tell you a little bit about the racetrack. Circuit of the Americas, of course, now home to the U.S. Grand Prix here every year. And we fly in, take a look. 20 turns. We're on the Grand Prix layout today. 3.427 miles. That's 5.5 kilometers for those of you in metric land. Just outside Austin, Texas, home of Rooster Teeth and everybody over there. But a very interesting layout here. A Herman Tilke, as you called it, as we were talking before the race started, a Herman Tilke best of almost.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe it. You look at some of the pieces at the track, you've got some of the classic S's from all over the place. You got the stadium section from Hockenheim that flows directly into the replica of Turn 8 from Istanbul. I'd say that's probably the most iconic section of this racetrack, but plenty of interesting pieces all around. You've also got that iconic run up the Turn 1 up the hill, which is probably the most unique piece of Circuit of the Americas, especially with the way it's been paved, so that you've got that very, very tight apex that funnels out as you enter the corner and gives you the opportunity to run all sorts of different lines here at COTA. But at this point, it's time for us to take a look at the starting grid for tonight's race of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series from Circuit of the Americas, which sees Gressel Wagner out of the First Settlers region for the PCA take the pole with a qualifying time of 2 minutes, 8.68 seconds. Michael Poldesek out of the Northern New Jersey region will start in second. William Levesque out of the Rensport region, trying to go 5.45 to start the season, will start third. John Cook out of Chicago Land region will start fourth. Fifth will be Leif Peterson. John Mallia will start from sixth. Matthew Kikis will start from seventh. Eighth will be Chris Pies. Jason Lister starts from ninth. And Michel Levesque, father of William, will start from 10th.
James Patak going to start 11th. 12th going to go to Kenny Brown, starting 13th on row number 7. Jonathan Schum and Bruce Robbins. Starting row number 8, Clifton Lipple, as well as Dewey King. Row 9, Charles Yao and Alberto Fonseca. And Brett Holmes and Michael Evans round out row number 10.
Carlos Lopez will start in 21st. 22nd will be Cameron Leslie. David Stewart starts in 23rd, and 24th will be Matthew Mitchell. Jeffrey Smith rolls off from the 25th position. Mike Knight begins from 26th. 27th will be Joseph Stifel. Shabal Banyopadhyay will start from 28th. 29th will be Jonathan Patterson. Then Donald Bickley and Aaron Benoit, 30th and 31st, to round out this grid for round 5 of the PCA SRS. Once again, we are at Circuit of the Americas. This is a 3.427 mile, 5.513 kilometer circuit in length, 20 turns here. We'll be racing for 1 hour, and we'll be going from the afternoon to the dusk. In-sim time is just after 6:20 p.m. Supposed to be Central Daylight Time here, local time, May 15th, 2019. So iRacing Day, the default day here for action at COTA. Anything that you think we should expect from this Cisco before we go green flag racing?
Well, one thing to note, once again, not starting on pole is going to be William Levesque. So I think this is going to be interesting to see. We'll see that run up to turn number 1. Is he going to try and roll the dice and get past everybody in the first turn? I don't think so, because that's not the kind of driver he is. But I think at the end of the day, that's going to be the action point of the racetrack. This is going to be a little bit of a sweaty start, as David Schildhouse would say if he was here.
Credit to David Schildhouse, the macro accountant, as we know him on social media.
You know what he's doing tonight, Jim?
What is he up to tonight?
He's over in Super Speedway Land.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What's he doing?
He's racing, but either way, pace car going to drop in. James, take it away.
Fair enough. We'll get the green flag here for round 5 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series at Circuit of the Americas. And Gressel Wagner, I think, almost went a little bit too early in the restart box, so he let everybody crawl back to him a little bit, but they'll all charge up to turn 1. And Jason Lisner with a huge move to the inside of Matthew Kikas. Nearly got alongside John Cook as they slide together there right at the apex of that corner, but a big start from Lisner to jump up and grab a few spots. We'll see if he can jump a little bit further up in the field, see if he can work his way around John Malley on the 8th. That's next, but Lisner going to go from 9th to 7th. Best start, I think, of anybody in the top 10. It's still Wagner at the front of the field, though.
Yeah, John Malia was able to hold on to that 7th position, so Lisner actually going to fall back to 8th as we ride on board the blue and orange machine. Up the hill we go, and now down to what is one of the 3 main straights here at COTA. Down the hill towards yet another acute left-hander. And on the brakes, everybody here, single file line already through your first top drivers. You can see a little bit of side-by-side kind of back in your pack there. That was Christopher Pies. Pink Pig, he's going to go side-by-side with John Malia.
Chris Paz, John Malia racing side by side. This currently for 7th and 8th as they come down the longest straightaway at Circuit of the Americas. You get up to nearly 165 miles an hour before you get all the way down to about 55 for this sharp left-hander that leads you right into the stadium section where you bounce back and forth and you nearly get into each other. Contact between Malia and Paz. Those two come together and they'll continue on. Somehow I was surprised that Malia didn't go around, but Pies will carry on. I wonder if he may end up giving the spot back to Malia, but as for now, they'll come out of the stadium section into the replica turn 8 at Istanbul Park, where the old Turkish Grand Prix was. Turn 17 and 18 officially here at COTA, and then they'll work their way through this quick left-hander into the next left-hander, turns 19 and 20 to round out the lap.
And James, what did I tell you about mechanical grip? I think that's all that saved John Malia. There was that grip underneath these Porsche 911 RSRs, and he was able to hold on to it. I mentioned at the top of the show, where was William Levesque going to be? Right now, he's second, stalking Gresham Wagner as we head out of turn number 1 once again down the hill and into the first compilation of S's here. And just on board that black stripe driver as we head under the Patron Bridge, and here we go.
With the Patron Bridge, and also forgot to mention that the Fast Track Sims pole position award went to Gresham Wagner for taking P1 in qualifying, so he gets the bragging rights along with the $50 courtesy of Fast Track Sims. And if you're not familiar with Fast Track Sims and the high-quality simulator cockpits they produce, you can visit them at fasttracksims.com for more information.
Yeah, see, if these guys gridded on the front stretch and gave us a whole pace lap, we could have gotten that in, James, but they couldn't.
Just about. It was close. It was close. But in either case, still a really good battle, especially for 3rd and 4th. You've got Michael Polishek and John Koch, and Koch all over the rear bumper of Polishek, getting the draft down this long straightaway as they head in excess of 155, 56, 7, 8 miles an hour was tops for Polishek before he had to get on the binders and get back to 55. So biggest braking zone without question here at COTA, and you definitely need to nail it, just because if you don't, I would hope no one ever locks their brakes up in that particular spot, but you're going pretty much head on into the fence if you have no brakes coming down there. It wouldn't be a fun place to wreck, but most of these drivers pretty well accustomed to these cars now, know how to get on the brakes, but we'll have to watch out for lockup in that particular corner of the racetrack. If you're looking on a track map, officially, that's turn 12. You need to keep your eye out for. You should expect lockup. I think there are more than just about anywhere else, save for maybe turn 1 and turn 11. Those are the other two spots that are pretty heavy braking zones these drivers will have to navigate this evening.
That's exactly what just happened to John Malia, actually, James. You could see kind of in the rear of the picture a little bit. Car got a little bit sideways. He got into Christopher Pies. You could see just how not comfortable he is in that car right now, all over the place in the braking zone there. I think he might have actually gotten a little bit of help from Clifton Lipple, but everybody managing to hold on to it so far. But he did slip it a little bit sideways as now they go side by side up the hill once again. And you can see Clifton Lipple trying to pick a line. He'll go to the inside this time. Pies sliding back in the Pink Pig.
Wonder if that damage with the contact with Malia to begin this race might be the reason why Pies is slipping back. Malia has more damage on his car, but has managed to sneak ahead.
Oh, that's Michel Levesque on the dirt.
And as Levesque goes into the dirt, has to slow it up, so he'll lose about 5 or 6 positions. But Malia ahead of Pies, and it almost looks like the damage is hurting Pies more than it's hurting Malia, interestingly enough.
Yeah, and I think the issues here with this track, James, is because it's so flat, it's very much a rhythmic track. You lose that rhythm, and you don't have a lot of elevation change markers for you to be able to save it. There's just not a lot of stuff here in general. So if you miss your braking zone, you're looking around a little bit, there's just not a lot for you to go, oh, that's where I'm supposed to go. If you get out of rhythm, you're kind of in trouble, especially in those S's.
Especially in the S's, you're right, which featured really one of the few major elevation changes on this circuit. You've got that run up to turn one, up that big hill, and then you come right back down and give up about maybe 2/3 of what you gained in elevation once you get to the beginning of the S's. And then it's that one little drop in between turns 10 and 11, that little straightaway that leads you down to the hairpin that precedes the long back straight here at Dakota. Those are the only two real hills to deal with. Otherwise, you're right, Cisco. This is largely a flat track. So not too many issues for drivers to navigate on the elevation front, but Pye's struggling to get his car going on the racing front, as it's now Charlie Yao and Dewey Kang that nearly get into the back of him and nearly stack up. Alberto Fonseca too, and Fonseca is going to lose it as Pies does come in. So just a little bit of an accordion effect coming through 19 and 20. Not much anybody can do, but Fonseca ends up the loser, I suppose, to that ordeal as Pies comes into pit road to get his car fixed up. And they'll all jump ahead of him. They'll slide back 21st, second, third, probably round somewhere, call it about 28th, 9th, 30th, I think is where he should pop.
Problems land.
Yeah, problems land, I think is the best way to put it. As Gressowina continues to lead this race after just over 10 minutes of competition. Or just under 10 minutes of competition, rather. Levesque in second by about maybe 3 or 4 car lengths. Then a bit of a gap back to Polisek, Cook, and Peterson, who are pretty close together, 3, 4, 5. And then about 5 seconds back to Jason Lisner and Kenny Brown having a really good run in that 23 machine. Haven't seen Brown all that close to the front of the field much this season, but this is a track that we've seen him run well into the past. Had a good run here in March when Series 1 was running for the PCA, and we ran the GT3 cars here. So no surprise to see Brown back up towards the front of this field. I think he just likes this place.
I think he does too, James. And the driver out of the Peach State region having a decent run so far. Started in 12th, is almost half that. He's up to 7th place position and might grab 6th away from Jason Lisner, who you remember had that big jump on the opening start of this race. So we head around the last couple corners here. We'll head into that Istanbul Park section once again, and just kind of looking through the field, trying to find a couple battles, checking in a couple of the drivers that we saw go around. Alberto Fonseca, you saw in your pictures there, he went around, nobody touched him. And once again, I think it's a credit, James, to a lot of these drivers in this series. He goes around in front of a bunch of drivers, and there's not a scratch on that car. So excellent job by everybody to miss that Porsche. And now he's in a battle pack all of his own, a peloton, if you will, of himself, Jeffrey Smith, Aaron Benoit, and Joseph Stiefel.
Yeah, I would think that'd be Benoit, to be fair. I love French as much as you do, Cisco. But
Benoit, yeah, sorry.
Yes. The answer is oui when you say parlez-vous français, monsieur. So, as we expand our language barriers here on the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series broadcast, but Stiefel, Benoit, Fonseca, Jeffrey Smith also back here too. Smith had some contact somewhere back the line, and then also re-entered the track unsafely, so he got a 30-second penalty and will come down pit road to serve that. So he'll sort of drop out of this battle, and they'll all slide back behind the driver who has unquestionably the best name in Series 2 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series, Shaibal Benyopadhyay. Say that 10 times fast.
No.
just a flat no. Now, as I say, in fairness, we as the announcers before the series started had to make sure we got our notes correct, to make sure that we got it right. Obviously not the easiest to say.
I think that was a 3-email chain there, just trying to figure that out. That's
I think you're right, somewhere in the ballpark of that. But a little bit of Thai and Cambodian influences in that. I keep thinking of soccer nut that I am. I think of the family that owns Leicester City Football Club under the Premier League. All the Thai connections over there, and I was like, oh wait, I've seen names like this before. I know how to pronounce this. So, Chaval running.
James, I've got an announcement.
As you have an announcement, Cisco? Yes.
Celso Mello in chat confirming what I thought. It is not Benoit. It is Benoit.
It is Benoit. Ah! All right, fine. So we are going French. Fair enough.
So that's, I think that's the first name victory I can ever claim on Podium Sports, so that's a big deal for me. But nonetheless, we continue to watch this battle pack. Oh, car off the racetrack. That was Joseph Stiefel. Him and Aaron are both battling right now. A little bit further down in your pack. But considering Benoit started all the way back in dead last, he's up to 25th right now, having passed 6 cars.
A good run for Benoit here. Up 6. That's, I think, shared for Hard Charger or Hard Charger outright in this field at the moment as I scroll through just to make sure I'm not missing anything. Next driver on that list, Kenny Brown, for sure, has a good feel for this place. He's got 5 from the starting spot of 12. Currently runs in 7th at the moment. So Brown really making good use of these early laps at Coda to gain a few more positions on the field. He's got about maybe a second and a half to get to Jason Lisner for the 6th spot. But all in all, very solid start. And he's opened up a gap on Matthew Kikas and John Malia, who are having a pretty good battle of their own.
As we hop on board, the driver, the number 8 out of the metropolitan New York region, John Malia, as we mentioned, has kind of slipped down the field a little bit here to start out the first 13 minutes or so here at Circuit of the Americas. Has recovered the car a little bit and kind of fallen now into a little bit of a rhythm here behind Matthew Kikas. And Kikas has just had he's had a decent season thus far, James. I mean, he's been up there. He's had the fuel strategy work out for him in a couple cases, but just nothing super spectacular out of the driver out of the Carolinas, but he's been consistent.
Yes, the Raleigh, North Carolina-based driver out of the state capital. Those, I know in his crew, there are more than a few North Carolina State Wolfpack fans, so no surprise that he carries the colors of the Wolfpack on his number 15 911 RSR. It's a point we've made a few times here on these PCA SRS broadcasts, but just really consistent runs for Kikas. I think you're right. I don't know if he's got the outright speed of a Wagner or Levesque or a Podolsek or Cook or something like that, but what he might not have in speed, he makes up for in strategy. Best exemplified by his podium at Road America, where he bang on nailed the fuel strategy to stretch it out and make it on one pit stop. Don't know if we're going to have anything like that tonight, but if we get to a point where people start pushing a little bit too hard, because you should be able to one-stop this, but it's going to be close. It's going to be very close. So Kikas could be in line for a really, really strong finish, because he'll outsmart you more often than not.
Well, I'll have to hold off our new leader, William Levesque, who just grabbed the lead. We saw in the replay there heading up through turn number 1. Then started to pull a little away on Gresham Wagner there. So lead change, and we knew it, we saw it coming, of course. You know, this driver of the 144 has been just blow the doors off amazing this whole season thus far, and Gresham Wagner just couldn't hold him behind anymore.
Levesque coming and charging hard again. Like you said, the only driver in this field that's part of the Porsche Esports Super Cup that is also found here on the iRacing Esports Network, and then runs it a little bit wide through the stadium section, though I wonder if that might have been a strategic move there. But in either case, it is Levesque to the point again, as we've seen him. Wagner back to second, and then Podolsek and Cote having a whale of a battle for third and fourth in their own little bubble, with Leif Peterson just sort of sitting in the background waiting. If these two get into one another and trip each other up, he'll be the driver that capitalizes. He's only about maybe a second-ish back of this battle.
And stop me if you've heard this before, James. Your top 3 at the moment is William Levesque, Gresham Wagner, Michael Polosek, and then John Koch and Leif Peterson looking on the outside to try and grab their spots on the podium as well. Man, it feels like what you want to do is you want to watch the previous race and then turn it on just as this one starts, because it'll just be the one continuous battle from racetrack to racetrack.
It's like they drive through portals. It's like we're playing Portal with PCA cars. Which I
No, you know what it is? It's Hot Wheels Acceleracers, because this is the first time ever that I can make that reference on this channel.
Wow. That is I must give you credit for that. It's that, or there's something else here, as I get a little note from Race Control that Cisco might play into this just a little bit.
What's the, I can't see the post-it from over here on the other side of the desk. What's it say?
The post-it, it says that John Melly has been black flagged for the contact with Christopher Pye. So Race Control has ruled that as an incident in which John Malia came down on Christopher Pye coming through the stadium section. In particular, if you're looking for the specific corner, turn 13, that first one as you enter the stadium section here at Circuit of the Americas. That incident on lap 2 that gave Malia all the damage and gave Chris Pines the damage that he had to pit for. So, I think that's going to change things just a little bit here. Malia sits in the 9th spot at the moment, but of note, I would say, that incident there, which will knock him back a little bit, and he'll have to try and climb back up the leaderboard. And next in line, not too far ahead of him, maybe 3-4 car lengths tops, is Matthew Kikis in the number 15.
Yeah, and we just jumped over there to see what's going on with those two right now, and you can see Malia's tried to close in on Kikis here, but that could change now, James, because you have to assess that penalty now. But nonetheless, the damage on Malia's car, I think, is still of note. You can see the damage on the left and right front corners of that race car. So we'll have to see. Yep, this time he comes down pit road.
So Malia will come down pit road. We'll let you know where he comes out once he does come out. But Kikis now gets some breathing room because James Patak is the next driver in line. And Patak is about maybe 7 seconds back of where Malia was. And now, yeah, about 7 seconds back of Kikis.
Was.
What, 6.8? You want to get technical with me? I was trying
now he's past him. Malia's fallen back down to 13. He's coming out of pit road now.
Patak to Kikis.
Oh, I got you.
There we go. Yeah. So, and for anyone else who might have been confused like Cisco in that bit, but in any case, big gap between those two, which gives us the opportunity to slide a little bit further back and look at some of the other battles here. Two of note that I think are worth pointing out: 11th and 12th, Jonathan Schum and Bruce Robinson, pretty close together, and then Charlie Yao and Dewey Kang, 13th and 14th, as they travel through the S's. Yao, one of the drivers out of Texas, out of the Coastal Bend region, if my memory serves me correctly. And he is indeed out of the Coastal Bend, out of Mission, Texas. Not terribly far away from Brownsville, but that's the PCA region that takes care of everybody down on the Texas Panhandle, right along the Gulf of Mexico on the western side. So Corpus Christi, Laredo, anybody sort of in that stretch. Cheer for Charlie Yao. He is your driver without question. One of the drivers that repeats and has driven in both Series 1 and Series 2, and the only driver in both to come out of the Coastal Bend region.
And then right behind him, Dewey Kang, one of the several drivers out of the metropolitan New York region. Oh, there goes Yao off into the pavement land, and he'll come back on the racetrack here and lose that position out to Dewey Kang. Lots of runoff room here, James. Unfortunately, that means... the good thing is you don't get any damage, and you do get a little bit of a grace period if you do go sliding off, but I guess he's happy that it wasn't dirt in this case, or gravel.
Would have made life a little bit trickier for him, but it brings up a good point in that this track is fairly wide, and there aren't too many issues that you have to deal with on that front. There is runoff room, there is pavement. This track, in fairness, is only 7 years old. It was built for the 2012 United States Grand Prix, so it very much is a modern racetrack, one of the most modern circuits in all of iRacing. So plenty of space, and the dangers of racing in 2019 kept in mind when they built this place. And it also gives drivers room to roam and room to change up the line a little bit. We've seen some series make rules, especially in that stretch between turns 18, 19, 20, where drivers, I saw it a lot in the IndyCar race back here in March, where drivers would just go way over the curve, not necessarily because they didn't want to hit it, but because it was the fastest line around that corner for them. You have the ability to do that because there's that much runoff room here at Dakota in that corner and in a few others on the track as well.
As it looks like issues for Aaron Benoit. Not sure what happened to the driver of the 19, but he is pulled it behind the wall, and it is game over for him. So unfortunately, first time out in the series, and it ends with a visit to Gasoline Alley. So just like that, Aaron Benoit looked like to be having a decent run here. He calls it a day.
Unfortunate for Benoit, as we sell a vest past Charlie Yao, and it also gives us the chance, as we are a third of the way through tonight's race, to remind you that the setups for Series 2 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series are graciously provided by Tanner McCullough of Setups for iRacing. Join the Setups for iRacing Discord server for quality iRacing setups. And if you're interested in getting behind the wheel and joining the fun with the PCA, you can learn how to get started in PCA sim racing by visiting simracing.pca.org and clicking on the 2-part series Getting Started in PCA Sim Racing at the bottom of the website, which incidentally was created by Michael Podolsek, who runs third at the moment. There's still time to sign up for the upcoming 3-hour endurance race and Series 3 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series featuring the 911 GT3 Cup Car. You can visit simracing.pca.org for more information, and I'll make a special note of that endurance race, which should be an incredible amount of fun. 6 p.m. October 13th, 2019. We'll go to Spa-Francorchamps, and we'll take the 911 RSR and the 911 Cup Car, and we'll run effectively GTE Pro and GTE Am classes at Spa for 3 hours in total. And we'll have the broadcast for you here at Podium Esports, and should have a lot of fun with that. So be sure to tune in October 13th. If you're interested in registering for that race, you can sign up at simracing.pca.org/endurance-race. And one more final reminder before we get back to the racing action. The Porsche Club of America wants to recognize and thank the PCA Sim Racing Steering Committee for their efforts to create an engaging year of sim racing. And that committee includes Doug Atkinson, Mike Knighton, William Yu, Liam Rodzitas, and Andrew Elsa. The Porsche Club of America thanks these members for their time and dedication to develop PCA Sim Racing via the PCA Sim Racing Steering Committee. And so, we get back to the action. We turn our eyes to the screen, and Michael Podolsek and John Cook are still just inseparable in third and fourth. And then have a pretty good battle developing between Kang Levesque and Yao. That's the next best battle on track, I'd say. By far, as there goes Kang overshooting the corner. Here comes Levesque side by side through the stadium section.
Second time we've seen Kang do that. Now is Michel Levesque going to try the outside. Not going to work as they head through that. Ooh, no, not going to work this time. I thought he might be able to try it. Ooh, Kang going to get a little bit door slammed there by Yao. And Yaozilla, as he has on the car's bumper, they'll head around the long circumference, kind of this long right-hander, and right towards the last 2 corners of this lap. And Charlie Yao going to look to the inside again. Not going to happen, so he'll fall in line. So it looks like at the moment that battle has stabilized just for the second here. But Dewey Kang kind of threw a wrench in the works there, fell off the racetrack again. That's the second time we've seen him, I believe, go off in that exact spot.
And it's a point that we made a little bit earlier in the broadcast, how turn 12, right there at the end of the long straightaway at Circuit of the Americas, is one of the 3 points on track where you can expect drivers to lock up on the brakes, and that's exactly what happened to Dewey Kang on corner entry. Just drove it in too deep, couldn't get it slowed down enough, overshot the corner, ran off on the apron, lost the time, and that's what opened up the opportunity for Michel Levesque to get around him. And Levesque is now the driver in 13th. Kang is back in 14th, trying to hold on Charlie Yao, who runs in 15th.
So all these drivers still together, but a lot more spaced out than they were. We'll take a little bit more of a gander back to talk about some more cars that we don't get a chance to talk about too much. Michael Evans in 21st, kind of hanging on the back bumper of Michael Knighton, and then Matthew Mitchell just up the road a little bit.
As we pull our eyes to Knighton and Mitchell and watch that battle as they come through. They've also got Michael Evans in there, who's maybe about 2 or 3 car lengths back of these two as they work their way into turn 10. And you've got a pretty solid mix here. You've got Knighton, who is one of the, I'd say, most influential drivers in this series, part of the steering committee, and also one of the 10 Peach State region drivers here in the PCA SRS Series 2, along with Matthew Mitchell, who is in this battle too and is also from the Peach State. And then Michael Evans, who hails from the Shenandoah region, just outside of Charlottesville, Virginia, home to the college basketball, or at least men's college basketball national champion Virginia Cavaliers. But Shenandoah includes Charlottesville and a lot of places in the western part of Virginia. So you think of Charlottesville, Lexington, Virginia, home to VMI, Washington Lee, a lot of really good schools in that area. They are represented by the Shenandoah region of the PCA.
Yes, they are, James. And Michael Evans doing a decent job right now. You saw on the screen, started 20th, fell back one position, so he's kind of had a consistent day right here, but I think what Evans is, I think the best goal for the driver of this 980 machine right now, James, if you're kind of sitting around here, kind of mid to lower pack, you just want to have a consistent race. Don't try and force anything. I understand, you know, you want to try and gain positions and, you know, get as fast as you can, but on a track like this, that's what can happen as he gets into Michael Nyden. They'll slow down, let 2 cars by, and Michael Evans doing what has become one of the landmark things we see here in the PCA. You make the mistake, let him go.
And class sportsmanship here, I think. James Huth, last series at Watkins Glen back at the beginning of the year, set the tone, got the lead when Michael Polisek and I think it might have been Billy Smith, the Series 1 champion, got into each other going into turn 1, and he was sitting in third, got the lead as a result of that incident, but gave it back to those two and let them fight it out for the race win. So sportsmanship at the very, very top of things that the PCA notes and watches. Whoa. As they all sort themselves out. Maybe an issue for Chabal Banyo Panchai there. Not quite sure what happened to the 770, but he slides back, and now it's all Nyden and then Fonseca, who's come back into this, and Evans and Banyo Panchai right there. And as they sort themselves out, we'll take a look at the Texas drivers in tonight's race. This is their home track in the PCA SRS after all, and it is Chris Pye running, unfortunately, in 29th. He had that early incident with John Malia, and it has definitely hampered his race just a bit, but Pye is at a Lone Star region, that stretch from Houston up north to College Station in the land of the Aggies. It's what he represents within the PCA regional framework, so Pye's there in 29th, and then you look a little bit further up, you've got Carlos Lopez in 23rd at the moment. He is one of the drivers out of the Maverick region of the PCA, along with Leif Peterson, one of the long-time drivers here, Series 1 and Series 2 driver, but both of those drivers out of the Maverick region, which covers most of the Dallas and Fort Worth Metroplex. So I guess we'll call it Starland if you like your hand egg, I suppose. But in either case, Lopez currently running in the 20th position, Peterson running in the 5th spot. And then Charlie Yao, of course, we've already talked about a good bit tonight out of the Coastal Bend region, runs in the 15th spot in that 717, trying to work over Dewey Kang for another position. Kang, one of the handful of Metropolitan New York region drivers here. But if you're curious to know where your Texans are in tonight's race, that is where they are. And it also reminds me that we're not terribly far away from tonight's iRacing Midway race break.
Which means, James, the way the strategy should work out, we'll have to move the midway race break a little bit further back because we're expecting to have everybody hit pit road around that halfway mark. We're only about a minute and a half or so from it, so I think it's going to be, that's when we're going to see everybody hit it, unless anyone tries to short pit it and just kind of hope that they can make that little bit extra fuel last. I mean, it was going to be tight as it was, James, so I don't know how much you can actually short.
And the question will be, will we see everyone come down on the same lap, just about like we did at Watkins Glen a week ago? And Levesque will be one to watch as he works his way through the S's along with Wagner. It's been very quiet up at the front of this field. Not too many changes for position amongst the top 5, but that's not to say that they're not running far apart from one another. Wagner is only back on Levesque by about 2 seconds. Cook's within car lengths of Michael Polisek. And then it stretches out a little bit until you get to Kenny Brown and Matthew Kikas running in 7th and 8th.
And remember, this is a little bit of a battle, but that's been going on for a while. Kenny Brown now in front of Matthew Kikas. Remember, Kikas was fighting Malia for a while. So with Malia having to take that stop and pull behind the wall, he's one of our 2 cars off the racetrack and night over. So now Kikas, because of that, has been able to catch up to Kenny Brown, close that gap, as we could see 2 of the red cars here in PCA going to go at it here as they head down the long, really long. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going. This is, are we at Fuji? No, we're at Circuit of the Americas. There's the dive.
You honestly probably should just channeled Chris Berman there and been like, they are back. And I don't have the rib cage, shall we say, to really get that sound right. But I can tell you that Levesque and Wagner both decided to stay out, as did Podolsek, as did Koch, as did Peterson, as did Lisner. So I'd say we'll take the gamble now and go ahead and see if we can get the iRacing midway race break in before they come to pit road, which is always brought to you by iRacing, the world's leading racing simulation. iRacing was developed from the very beginning as a centralized racing and competition service that organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. iRacing is home to a wide variety of officially sanctioned series, with racing from the Australian Supercar, the Car Store right here on the Podium Esports Network, IndyCar himself, NASCAR, the World of Outlaws, and more. Levesque is your race leader over Wagner, Podolsek, Koch, and Peterson, your top five. Jason Lisner runs in sixth. Matthew Kikis holds on to seventh at the moment. Eighth is James Patak in that 721 machine. Clifton Lipple runs in the ninth position. And then it is Jonathan Schoon in the 97 car. That blue and yellow machine out of the Carolina region of the PCA runs in 10th.
11th is Bruce Robinson, and this is going to be where the timing could get a little bit interesting here. Charlie Yao is in 12th, 13th to Dewey Kang. Kenny Brown just came off pit road. You can see he's just getting back onto the racetrack. He's one of our first cars to hit pit road, and well, we tried to time it, but unfortunately, it looks like the back half of the field is going to hit pit road now. Cameron Leslie's in 15th, Matthew Mitchell in 16th. 17th to Carlos Lopez, who just came off pit road. Michael Knighton stays out. He's 18th. Michael Evans, 19th. He as well stays out with Alberto Fonseca in 20th.
Michel Levesque is the first car just coming out of pit road on your screens now, running up the hill. He is in 21st. Brett Holmes will follow him in hot pursuit in 22nd. David Stewart on pit road at the moment in 23rd, and Shaibal Banyopadhyay runs in 24th. 25th is Joseph Stifel. Jonathan Patterson is 26th. Jeffrey Smith runs in the 27th position at the moment. Donald Binkley runs in 28th. 29th belongs to Christopher Page. John Maldea and Aaron Benoit have pulled up behind the wall for the evening and will be scored 30th and 31st on the grid. And that concludes tonight's iRacing Midway Race Break. With over 80,000 drivers on the service and over 80 laser scan tracks and cars to choose from, iRacing is the original esports racing game. For more information, visit iRacing.com today.
We just got it in, James, as everybody hitting pit road right now, except your leader.
Does this feel a little bit like Road America all over again? Because it was the same story there. Well, Levesque was able to stretch his lead out for one more lap and then come down pit road. And it will be Wagner, Podolsek on fresh tires. Koch and Peterson, incidentally, have also decided to stay out this time by. So they'll probably come in with Levesque, who is about to enter that very, very treacherous turn 12 right down at the end of that long back straightaway here. Coming into the stadium section, we would expect him to be on pit road probably this time, but the good news for him is that when he comes down, he'll only have about 25 minutes left to go run this race, so he should almost certainly be good to the end on fuel.
Well, I'll tell you what, James, I think John Koch and Leif Peterson, I guess their pit crews were so fast you didn't even see them because they have actually pit road. They got a full service and got back out. So actually, the only person who hasn't taken service right now, the three cars that haven't, is William Levesque, Matthew Mitchell, and Alberto Fonseca, who those three have stayed out. Now is Levesque going to hit pit road this time, and that just leaves Mitchell and Fonseca.
So we'll see who all follows Levesque in particular. We would expect Mitchell and Fonseca to be the two of them, and it'll be all eyes on this group here as Trump continues to run down Podolsek and run him tight, run him very, very close. And then Peterson's got a bit of a gap here, but we'll see how long it takes for Peterson to try and claw his way back towards the 997.
And now William Levesque in pit road. So the question is, can Gresham Wagner pick up any bit of time here? Levesque just left the pit stall. This is going to be a little bit close here as he heads towards the edge pit road. Just comes out. There you can see just in the corner of the screen, around going through turn number 1, now turn number 2. So Gresham Wagner picked up a little bit of time, James, but it's not going to matter. Great stop by the driver of the SimCube 144, and William Levesque back in control.
So Levesque back in control of this race with just under 25 minutes to go. Wagner about 4.5 seconds back in second. And then you have to slide back to Polisek and Koch, who have been nose to tail this entire race. And there hasn't been a move yet. It very much feels like a Wild West shootout where they're both just sort of staring at each other, waiting for the first one to make a move.
I mean, on a racetrack like this, unless you're going to try something a little bit desperate, as we've seen a couple times, and let's be honest, James, it hasn't really worked out a lot of the times we've seen it. This can be a little bit of a tough track to pass. Yes, you have these long braking zones that you can use, but on the S's and corners like that, you can't really make anything happen for yourself. It's just kind of a single file line through those S's, so you have to make these moves either when you're going up the hill at turn number 1. You might be able to make something in Istanbul land, or you might be able to make something here. We'll see. Does John Koch have any sort of draft or anything he's going to be able to contend with Polsek with? No, not really. He just pulls the back bumper, and I don't think he's content to really make a move, like you said, James, right now. I think he is just going to sit here, watch, wait for the mistake.
That's the thing. I think, especially at this front end of the field, it's not so much about the speed because they're so close together, save for maybe Levesque, that it's way more about the mistake. Right on cue, there goes Polisek wide on the final turn of the stadium section, and back into the Istanbul Park replica turn 8 he goes, but manages to maintain the position all the while and keep it going in the right direction as you see sort of ride the curves just a little bit there, but they'll come through the final corner back down to the front stretch, and it will still be Polisek hanging around in that third position. Elsewhere in the field, Clifton Lipple and Charlie Yao are pretty close together. That's maybe 5, 6, 7 car lengths as they come down the back straightaway. Another good battle a little bit further back. You've got Mike Knight and Shaibal Banyopadhyay together, and then a little bit further up the field, you've got Matthew Keek is trying to chase down Jason Lisner. That's for 6th and 7th.
And really, all those cars fairly far apart here, James. Everybody's spread out around the 5.5 kilometers here at Circuit of the Americas. The closest battle, well, we've been showing it to you. It's John Koch and Michael Polsek, and even that, despite a little bit of a mistake out of the 45, it's just been follow the leader for the most part. This might shake things up. Lap car, John Koch going to look to driver's right. Not going to happen this time, though, but he's right on the bumper of Polsek. This might spice things up a little bit. Can he stay with Polsek here on the long straightaway?
Well, we are in Texas. They are known for spicy food, so no surprise that we see that, as I think Koch got a little bit too close to Polsek there in the middle of the corner, and I think all but touched.
Oh, he's got the toe, James.
45, but yes, he did get the toe. So now you see Polsek down to the inside to block and force Koch outside. So part of the blocking rules here, very similar to Formula One. You get one move across the racetrack to try and block somebody. The second one is the one that gets you penalized. So Polsek slides down to the inside. Koch has to take the long way around that corner once they slow down and get out of the back straightaway, and that gives Polsek the ability to set up the line that he wants through this stadium section.
And just like that, Michael Polsek once again just taking John Koch to school on defense, and Koch just hasn't been able to do anything. Like we said, James, this is a case where you have to have a really good run into one of these braking sections, or else it just turns into follow the leader, and you just need Polsek to make a mistake. He's done it a little bit, but that was a great run for Koch, but the problem is the straightaway's too short. He can't do anything with it. Now we brake and then get ready for the front straightaway, and this is one of those turns where if you can get your apexes right, you might be able to get a little bit of a toe, but it's going to have to be a little bit more of a desperate move. Koch going to get right to the rear bumper, but again, James, I don't think he wants to push it.
Not at the moment. It is very much about enforcing the mistake at this point, though it should be noted that at this time, Koch is definitely close enough to where if he decided he wanted to force it, he certainly would have the opportunity. So it might be something that we see in the final 20 minutes of this race as we close in on that, maybe about 15 seconds or so away from the final third of tonight's event of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series at Circuit of the Americas. But for now, he's all okay with just riding behind Polsek and hanging out through the S's.
A little bit of an issue back in the 20s, Shaibal Banyopadhyay looks like he had an issue with Michael Knighton, so those two not really losing any positions, but we'll look back now. Car's a little bit damaged for Neiden, as well as the 770, but saw there was a little bit of an issue there going on, and they're able to keep going thus far. So that battle that was going on, that is no longer a battle. But how about battle? We'll throw you to Charlie Yao and Clifton Lipple.
I was about to say that's the other really good battle on this racetrack besides Michael Polishek and John Cook. Clifton Lipple hanging out ahead of Charlie Yao. We talked about Yao a good chunk tonight. We haven't talked a lot about Lipple tonight, so we'll go ahead and do that. Lipple is, you could paint his car orange, and then I do think if you put maybe a little green roof on it, you might be able to figure out what region he's from, because his car would then look like a certain fruit. Wink, wink, Cisco.
Yes, he is in fact now the Peach State region. However, Clifton deciding to be part of the Aaron Smith fan club and run a completely yellow car. The only thing that would change is if there was a giant 70 on the door. But Charles Yao going to look to the outside this time. But Clifton Lipple indeed out of the Peach State region, one of several drivers out of there. Peach State, of course, James, one of the most active groups here on iRacing. They have their own league. They run together. They are very familiar with this iRacing service and were one of the driving factors behind the first season of this Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series.
I know it was a lot of conversations between Michael Nudd and Doug Atkinson, Peach State and Lone Star regions coming together, teaming up, and then going to the national offices to make this happen on that front. So the PCA, I suppose there's a little bit of a debt to the Peach State folks for sort of blazing the trail, but now you see all these regions in here, and I think just within Series 2, by my count, somewhere in the ballpark of about 25-ish regions, I think, of the PCA, ranging all the way from the Upper Canada and the Rensport regions down to, if you want an LA region driver, we got a few of them for you. And then I know there's also one from just a little bit south of Los Angeles who gets to run right around Long Beach, basically, when Long Beach is your backyard. Matthew Epstein out of the Orange Coast region. You have the one of, if not maybe the greatest street course in this country on your backside. That, and I would say probably Belle Isle and Detroit are the two that really jump out to me as excellent spots. But all over North America are drivers from the PCA. And if you're curious about drivers in between, don't worry about that. We've got folks from the Ozark region. We've got drivers from the Rocky Mountain region. So we're very well covered. In the Pacific Northwest, too. So throw your compass in any direction, you'll find a region with a PCA driver that is in this series. That is how diverse the geographic makeup of the PCA SRS is.
Speaking of Pacific Northwest, I know he's got a couple fans in chat. Alberto Fonseca still trying to recover from the spin cycle. That's the word I was looking for. The spin cycle he went on earlier on in the event. Right now, right on the back bumper of David Stewart, the 914. This is a little bit of an interesting battle.
A little bit of an interesting battle indeed. Stewart and Fonseca make their way towards the end of the S's and then get to work down the hill towards the hairpin, towards that back straight. And if Fonseca can keep up this distance, he should get a good toe down that back straight, but it all depends on how he gets through this turn right here in the hairpin that brings you down the hill and has the sort of weird wider apex just like turn one. But it was a really good run for Fonseca, and it was too good of a run. He was on the gas and nearly nailed it, and then just got on the gas too early and gave up all the time and gave up about half a second, which normally wouldn't be all that bad. But in that particular corner, it's a killer because it pulled him right out of the zone in which he could pick up a toe from Stewart and maybe have a chance to pass the 914 coming off of the back stretch into turn 12.
James, that's one of those cases. It's trying to run with the football before you've already caught it, and that's kind of what Alberto Fonseca just did. He was thinking gas, gas, gas before he figured, oh, I got to finish turning out of this corner, and just got on it a little bit too early, and the hips wiggled, and just like that, Fonseca has to make all that time back up on Stewart.
Doing a decent job of it. He's getting through this section of the racetrack, the turn 8 replica that we've called it officially 17 and 18, 19, 20. Way better. Way better. What a run he got through 19 that last time by. And we'll see how he plays 20. If I'm him, I'd back up that corner, see if I can get a run down the front stretch. It was about dead even as far as where the corner entry was between Stewart and Fonseca that last time by. But he could get a tow coming up the hill into turn 1. Might have the opportunity to dive it in deep if he tries, and he looked and thought about it for a moment, but then thought better of it. He'll tuck in line behind Stewart as they come. Well, I thought he was going to tuck in line, and then instead decides to make the push to get around Stewart before they hit the S's, and they're going to go side by side and nearly make contact with one another. But Fonseca with a bold move into the S's to get the position away and move up into the top 20.
That is a ballsy move there, James, because considering if you jump to the inside there going through turn 2, you're on the wrong side for the start of the S's. So Fonseca just decided, I'm going to have a braking contest with David Stewart, and he won. So now the driver of the 44 has gotten back up to 20th, and he'll hopefully be able to hold on to that position as David Stewart will try and chase him down and rob him back of that position. As we jump up through the field here, just under 15 minutes left to go in this event. And, well, I was wondering, gee, James, where's our leader, William Levesque? Oh, he's right there.
Right there, and with a good bit of steam now, up about maybe 6.6, 6.7 seconds ahead of Gretchen Wagner. So in the time that we wait for Levesque and Wagner to cross past this area, we'll take a moment to remind you all that if you want to try and get involved with the PCA, that the PCA hosts over 3,500 events annually across North America. Between the 10 national events and the thousands of regional events, there's a PCA event for every Porsche enthusiast. PCA hosts autocross events, concours d'elegance, drivers' education classes, driving tours, social events, and tech sessions. And for more information, you can visit pca.org/events. You can also enter for a chance to win a 3-month iRacing membership card, because PCA's got a few of them to give away, compliments of iRacing themselves. The drawing's open to PCA members that are not currently entered into the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series, and is intended to help PCA members new to sim racing get started and join the fun. It is simracing.pca.org/win to enter the drawing. And I would say a pretty good way to get involved. And I give credit to the PCA because I think they've done a really nice job of paving the way for people, especially in Series 2, between the guide that Michael Podolsak put together and this push from iRacing to help get new members in. You want to try your hand at it and have a chance to set yourself up? Who knows? You can put together a rig, go run a few official races, get your license up, and then you too could join us here as a driver on the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series and potentially be on the broadcast with me and Cisco and Taylor Burris and company. So your chance to join PCA Sim Racing is not all that far away. It's far closer than you think.
And I know that there's some of the families that are kind of extended here that get a chance to watch the broadcast, the Fonsecas, and I know the Wagners, the Polsaks, they all have kind of people as well. It's a great family thing to do as well. We've talked in the past about William Levesque and then his dad, Del Levesque, both taking part in this race. Not the only pair of siblings we've seen. I think of the Zerny brothers out in from RSO, Rennsport Online, and their MX-5 exploits in the BLN Endurance Championship. I think of several other just pairs or brothers or siblings or a father-son duo or a father-daughter duo. There's all sorts of that on iRacing, James, and it really is something to where if you can do that with your family, it's a lot of fun.
I feel like there's an appropriate Hank Williams Jr. song that we can chuck into this and be okay. Wink, wink, wink. I'm not going to sing it. I know better than to try and do that on the broadcast, but I definitely need to make sure we get the musical reference counter up a little bit because we haven't really done that much tonight. So, and fitting, I think, especially too. You know, we're in Texas. You know, Hank's favorite state. Why not?
As Katie Baker in chat says, the Kikuses watch together, but there is only one racer in the family, and I get that, and it's definitely one of those cases where I've, you know, whether it's been some of my roommates from college or something like that, just getting people involved and getting them interested in motorsport. This is such an easy way to do it. Even if you only have one rig in the family, let people hop in, do a hot lap competition one night for somebody, the loser has to wash the dishes or something like that. Just something fun like that. It's a great way to enjoy an evening with your family, just going out there. There's a lot you can do with iRacing that's beyond just what you've seen here on screen, what you've seen in the past on the sun. There's so much more that you can do with it and help bring motorsport out in your family and share it with others.
I was waiting to see if you were going to get back to the Kikis clan, because if not, I was going to make the point as a fellow native North Carolinian along with that bunch. So no surprise then that we get to bring them up and bring them into a pretty prominent position on this broadcast. So why not? Matthew's holding down the 6th position pretty well. But I was going to say, if it were me and I'm drawing up something here, I'm taking... I like to be extra mean. I'll take the 911 GT3 and I'll stick everybody in Belle Isle and say, have fun, run it. And most people will, I wouldn't necessarily say completely crash it. I think they do better than what Mark Royce did at the Grand Prix a few years ago.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, you knew I was going to bring up the bidding of the pace car coming out of turn 1. Although it's tricky, I will say, with any car, if you don't run the outside of that corner on corner exit, you will get in trouble. But, and this is also the part where I say, dear Doug and company, I don't know how many people would enjoy it, but I would love to see a race at Belle Isle because I also love that racetrack. So, please, guys, por favor.
Belle Isle, we'll lobby for it for season 3. We'll have to see if that's going to happen. But I will note that we have had an interesting change of position here. Leif Peterson has jumped into that 4th position. John Koch fallen back to 5th, but all 3 of these drivers within sight of each other. So very much an ongoing battle here in the waning minutes of this race. Just over 8:20 left to go.
And oh, by the way, guess who they're maybe, 3 or 4 car lengths behind?
Oh, look. Can't see it. Who are you talking?
Okay, fine. I guess I had to be the one that makes the obvious statement and says Michael Podolsek, of course, who having a strong...
That's what I said, these 3.
Whatever. I'll hate you later. Off the podcast. Once we're done. In the meantime, though. Pretty good battle between these 3. Also a good battle between Kikis and Lisner. 2 names that we talked about a bit and have been together for a good chunk of this evening. Kikis now has the spot over Lisner. It hasn't always been that way tonight, but Lisner not out of touching distance of the 15 machine, and both in line for top 10 finishes, along with Kenny Brown, who's a little bit further back of this group and has a little bit more competition near him. But Kenny Brown having, I think, a season's best, to my knowledge, in that 8th spot. Really strong run for the 23 out of the Peach State region with the very, very appropriate Georgia Bulldog colors. We know he's a big time fan of the Bulldogs, so no surprise that you see a little bit of red and black on his number 23.
Yeah, it's very much the case, though. He was going into coming out of race number 2, an average finish of 7th, so he has had some decent runs thus far this season, James. But nice to see him back up in the top 10, as it were, and we'll have to see if he can hold out that position. He's got I'd say about a second or so on James Patak there. Or actually, no, that isn't a second or so. That's 9 seconds. I just can't read my overlay correct.
I hope that caught. I couldn't do much more than a golf clap, but it works. Besides, sometimes it needs to be me that doesn't end up being in the line of fire for that. So I'll appreciate it and say, hey, thanks for the info on Kenny Brown, the extra stats, and elsewhere. It's largely settled out for the most part here. One battle between the Michaels, Knighton and Evans, 22nd and 23rd, a little bit further back on track. But other than that, it is Podolsek, Peterson, Cook, and maybe Peterson trying to fend off Cook here in these final 5 minutes. Maybe about 2 or 3 laps left, depending on how they run it.
Yeah, so this battle is going to come down to the end here. No more stops on pit road. We will have a couple lap cars here that might interfere a little bit, but for the most part, this is going to be a dash to the finish between these three, and it's about a 9-second gap from them up to Gresham Wagner, so not really going to have any interference from there, and then Matthew Kikis is about 26 seconds back of John Koch, so not going to be any interference from the rear, unless, of course, they go, unless this ends in tears, as I reference my my friend and colleague Jake Sperry over there from Forever Sim Racing.
A Sperry reference. We haven't had one of those in a long, long while. And fitting that we have one on a road race, too. We know how much he loves this car in particular. Big fan of DTLM road racing here at everything iRacing Esports Network and everything Forever Sim Racing. He's been here. He's been forever. He's been all over the place. It seems like just about.
He's even done, I believe the last event was Skip Barber at Wild Horse Pass, I think was the last Max Vance event. Yeah, something terrible like that. I don't know.
I would be very keen for a Max Vance at some point. But then again, I almost feel like I'd be sort of just aping the master, of which we know that the master is Joe Green. If you haven't had the chance to go catch any of the Max Vance, it's 2 X's and then a Z, I would say. Definitely.
I believe so, yes.
Worth putting a search into trying to watch any of those. The rules are crazy. The racing is fun.
It's an extension of what he, myself, and then Randy Cheneth put together back years ago in the Bragging Rights Invitational. You know, putting some stuff together, getting some fun people involved, and just having a nice time. And it's unfortunate we haven't been able to run more of those because, unfortunately, the main group of Podium who would run that, which is myself and Keenan Kusan, we've had ESDA most of those evenings, so we haven't been able to, or afternoons, I should say, so we haven't been able to take part, I think, as much as we'd like to. But of course, and I bring that up because James, by the way, tomorrow, if you head over to twitch.tv/Podium Esports, the first round of Season 3 of the Gaming Drift Series, coming from Tokyo Expressway. We're going sideways again on Saturdays. Oh, that's becoming the name now for that. Oh my gosh, why didn't we think of that?
As we begin to wrap up the final few minutes here at Circuit of the Americas, and wait to see if William Levesque is going to try and get 1 or 2 more laps. And looks like the answer to that question, I believe, is going to be 2 laps, as he'll cross the line with about 2 minutes 50 seconds left in change, so he's got time for 2 laps to complete this run and pick up win number 5 at Circuit of the Americas. 5-4-5. Very impressive stuff from Levesque, and I think I could be wrong about this, but he might not be terribly far away from clinching the Series 2 championship outright. I think it'll only take maybe 1 more win, 2 tops in order to do it.
So if you flip over the W and then change the first name, and, well, either way, he's going to Matt Kenseth this series, it looks like.
Why would we need to flip the W over to an M? Do we have it set to W for Wumbo?
What is Wumbo, James?
Wumbology? The study of Wumbo? Wumbo-y? Wumboing? I Wumbo? You Wumbo? He, she, we? Wumbo?
The pack in front of Michael Polasek is Wumboing themselves right now. This might get a little bit interesting in this battle for third.
I never thought we'd ever be able to use that way, but I'm so glad that we have. But lap traffic definitely playing a part in this as we come down into the final few moments, and they all slide wide and nearly. Oh, Polasek got hit. Polasek got hit by one of the lap cars. I couldn't tell who it was. Matthew Mitchell in the 31. I couldn't tell who came together where there on that. I'll go back and look at the replay to see what happened. But no, I think, Polasek was just trying to take the racing line, and there were so many cars that tried to get out of the way, and they thought they were in good shape, and Mitchell was about as far over on the racetrack as you could be at that point, take that turn about as wide as you could, and Polasek, I think, just came over a little bit quicker than I needed to. So now, instead of that top 3 finish, Polasek is going to slide way, way back in this.
He's going to probably end up out of this thing in 5th. We stay with the battle to see what happened out of the rest of it. John Koch is going to sit. He'll move up to 4th position. You saw him getting a little bit of kind of back and forth with Alberto Fonseca, and then Leif Peterson jumps both of them and grabs third, so he might be able to grab that last spot on the podium with only 30 seconds left.
Lap traffic really causing issues here as coaches bang doors with a few of them, and they all come together. One of the issues here at Circuit of the Americas, you've got a lot of really weird apexes. That's why the incident limit here was raised to 30 points tonight from the regular 15. Not a point that we noted on broadcast, but it's all due to those apexes, as Levesque, I believe, just took the white flag as he comes down the hill into the S's for what should be the final time.
Yeah, he'll come down the hill here one final time along the very long back straightaway here at Circuit of the Americas, and once again started third and has put on a clinic all day, and that driver of the 144 just a couple corners away from going 5 for 5.
Coming back through the 10, 11, 12 section here momentarily, but first he's got to get through the S's. Maybe not necessarily the quickest of runs for everybody else, but it won't matter much to Levesque as he makes his way through the hairpin up at the north end of the circuit and begins to run down the long back straightaway for the final time. Just gets to sort of crest the waves and the very slight changes in elevation that you have here before he gets into the stadium section and completes his final run through there.
Under the Patron Bridge goes William Levesque now into Istanbul land here, Istanbul in Texas. He'll come around that right-hander, just 2 corners left to go for William Levesque. He'll head through the left-hander, and James, victory is in sight.
5, 4, 5. This time for William Levesque, who comes around the final corner, drives past the start-finish line, flashes the headlights, runs towards the pit wall, and claims victory number 5 in Series 2 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series from Circuit of the Americas. Gresser Wagner now coming out of the final corner, beginning to make his run down the straightaway to finish off the event as Wagner comes home in P2. Peterson is going to win the battle over John Cook. It looks like for third and fourth, and then Polisek is going to wonder what if. I think almost certainly just didn't quite leave enough room for the lap car Matthew Mitchell, and instead of the third place finish that he was in line for is going to come home 5th. It will be a disappointment, I know, for Polisek.
Matthew Kikis right on the rear bumper of Jason Lisner. This is going to be an interesting battle. They have one more corner to battle it out.
Big dive from Kikis. He tried and he drove it in deep, but I don't think it'll be enough. And Lisner is going to come away with P6. Kikis will finish in 7th as Kenny Brown will bring it around the line to finish 8th.
And it looked like Kikis nearly took out the DRS sign. We don't really have to worry about DRS in this series, but nonetheless, that'll be a $200 fine, I think, for Matthew Kikis because they have to put that sign back out on the racetrack.
I mean, they could fine him or they could give him a Mario Kart power up. Either way, whatever works for me.
Is that what those are? Those are just item boxes?
Oh, did you not see what the supercars did at Pukekohe? I forget. I want to say, was it Aaron Seaton? I forget who exactly it was, but one of them in practice just absolutely drove straight through one of the ITM Auckland boards right along the front stretch and nailed it pretty much dead center. I was like, so the man should get a star power up for 5-10 seconds for that. 10 out of 10 hit.
We have all the references on here tonight as last couple cars were waiting to come across the line here. You saw Dewey Kang just blast across the line. Bruce Robinson, Brett Holmes just did, and I believe, James, that'll wrap up everybody here. A very long lap here at Circuit of the Americas. It's about that time. We'll take a look at the full race rundown.
It is indeed time for your full race rundown and tell you where your favorite driver finished, which starts, not surprisingly, with William Levesque in the 144. Goes 5 for 5 tonight and wins at Circuit of the Americas. Gresham Wagner comes home in P2. Leif Peterson finishes in P3. John Coke finished in the 4th spot. 5th belonged to Michael Polisek after his run-in with Matthew Mitchell right at the end. Jason Lisner finished in 6th. 7th belonged to Matthew Kikis. Kenny Brown finished in 8th. 9th was James Pitaka, and Jonathan Schum finished in 10th.
11th position, Clifton Lipple. Charlie Yao are going to finish 12th. 13th to Michelle Levesque. Dewey Kang finishes 14th. Brett Holmes will finish 15th. Bruce Robinson 16th. Cameron Leslie is going to finish 17th. Carlos Lopez 18th. Alberto Fonseca rallies back to 19th after the spin cycle. Matthew Mitchell rounds out your top 20.
21st was David Stewart, and Mike Knighton was 22nd. Michael Evans finished in 23rd. 24th belonged to Shaiba Banyopadyan. Jonathan Patterson finished in 25th. 26th was Jeffrey Smith. Joseph Stiefel finished in 27th. 28th was Donald Bentley. Christopher Bias was 29th. And 30th was John Maliak. Aaron Benoit finished 31st on the grid to round out the field at Circuit of the Americas. Believe at this time it may well be time to go ahead and bring in William Levesque for a 5th time. And we bring William up to the booth now, and there's not much more to be said at this point, but I guess when the most disappointing thing I think tonight for you was that you didn't get the Fast Track Sims Pole Award. All in all, pretty good evening. So what was the frustration like there and the Q lap for you?
Yeah, I was pretty bummed about that actually. I don't know why I choked this bad, but I did. I just locked the rear on my second attempt, and then turn one, and that was it. The first lap was pretty bad. I had a couple lockups. I struggled all throughout practice for some reason with my braking, so I was not feeling it going into the race. But I suppose everything slid in as it should during the race, and yeah, Gresham was hard on his tires from what he said to me, so that allowed me to have the pace on him in the end, and yeah, pretty much it.
It's an interesting point that you make about the braking, because it's one that we made on the broadcast at a very, very early point on the broadcast, too, since there are more than a few places on this racetrack where you go from very high speeds to very low speeds very dramatically. A lot of hairpins in places where you can lock up the brakes, like you said. So, how did you figure out this racetrack between practice and the race to have the speed that you did once the green flag dropped?
I guess I pushed less in the race, so it kind of helped. I was probably overdriving in practice and in qualifying. But yeah, the braking on this track is insanely hard in any car. And these cars in particular, the brakes are really bad. It's so easy to lock up, and it locks up forever when you do, and you miss the corner by a mile. Um, and I had a thought, but I forgot. So
We could fill it in for you here. 5 for 5. It's something that no one was able to accomplish in Series 1. And it is a new record, I believe, for consecutive wins in a row here in the PCA SRS. So, with that in mind, how does that put tonight's win into perspective?
well, it means I just need a decent result in the next race, and I clinch championship, I suppose. So that's always nice. Never know what can happen in the end. Like I could have a disconnect, or my PC could explode, or a tornado could come through my room. Never know. So that makes it safer for the championship.
To have those wins in the bag as we head to VIR next, Virginia International Raceway. Thoughts on that circuit?
Hoped we were doing the Grand West layout, but I guess the GP track will do.
And the speed will be there as always, I figure. William, before we let you go, as always, a chance to say thank you and send your shout outs to all the sponsors and everyone who makes it happen for you.
Yeah, SimiCube, SimLab, iRacing, and my teammates at NX Racing. So cheers to those guys.
William, as always, congratulations on your victory. Thank you so much for the time, and we look forward to seeing you at VR next week. Or I suppose cheers, since it is British English here after all. No,
sorry.
that it is British English, so I guess it is cheers instead of thank you, I suppose.
Well, a lot of the guys in the team are British English, and all throughout those years sim racing, I've always hung out with British people, so I suppose I got some keywords from those guys. So
Hey, no shame in that, to be fair. I've lived in both countries, so fluent in either one. But the case remains the same. Well, congratulations on your victory. We'll see you 1 week from tonight.
yeah, hopefully in the same circumstances.
There's William Levesque, who finishes P1 once again. The speed is there for that number 144. And the speed was there tonight with the number 5 machine. That's the car that Gresham Wagner drove to a second place finish. And see if we can get Cisco down on pit road to talk to Gresham.
Yeah, I've caught up with Gresham Wagner, who's finished second here from Circuit of the Americas. And Gresham, I'm not Taylor, but it seems you're making a habit of talking to whoever the co-commentator is here for the series. Another second place, consistent, but still not a win yet. What do you need, man?
William to have issues, pretty much. I think that's all anybody needs, because he's just got insane pace in the second half of the race. I could keep up with him a little bit at the beginning, but after the pit stops, he just has so much more pace over everyone.
Well, you had another fast lap. Once again, it put you out front to start this race here. And like you mentioned, kind of the second half of that race, William drove away. You had the opportunity to short pit him about a lap there, but this track of Circuit of the Americas is a very long one. It's very different from a lot of the other tracks we've gone to this season. What to you set this apart from a lot of the other tracks that we've gone to and are going to, for that matter?
I think, like William said, the braking was the biggest thing, just because there's so many hard brake zones, and you're putting in a lot of steering lock into the tight corners with the braking, so it's really easy to lock up and just wear your front tires out, which that's what happened to me across the race, and I'm sure it happened to a lot of other people. So it's really just managing your braking and just hitting your marks and not burning up the fronts too early.
Well, it looks like you have your own cheering section in the YouTube chat. Andrew hopping in and hyping you up, saying you're better than Levesque. I guess trying to start some sort of beef there going on. I'm not sure if he's speaking for you there, but I'll give you a chance to say hello to anybody out there in YouTube land.
He certainly isn't speaking for me. William definitely has the edge on me, but I appreciate all the support of all the people that I know, because I have a pretty big friend group on iRacing.
That's Gresham Wagner. He finished his second here from Austin, Texas. Gresham, we'll see you next time out here in the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series.
Thank you.
Gresham Wagner finishes P2, and we bring in the driver of the number 913 machine, and that belongs to Leif Peterson. And Leif comes home P3 tonight. Leif, really solid run all around, just speed all over the place for a good chunk of this race. Just sort of tell the folks watching at home how it progressed from your perspective.
Well, I knew the first turn from last year was going to be hectic. I got in some contact last year, so I tried to protect the inside a little more. Conservative first lap, and that created a gap. So I was hanging with the leaders as long as I could. They were sneaking away from me, but I just ran my line, tried to protect my tires so I'd have something left, save up my off tracks so I could use those if I ever got in a battle, which turned out I did. So yeah, I think the battle in front of me ate up some of their tires, and traffic allowed me to catch up. And then I had something left to do battle with. And unfortunately, Michael got taken out in the worst possible way. He's having the worst luck this season. I feel terrible for him, but happy for the podium. Glad to show up at my home track.
That was exactly where I was going to take the conversation, because that was my next question. This is your home track. You are a Texan. You are a Maverick Region member. So how big is it to come away with a strong finish in your own backyard?
Oh, it's huge for me. Yeah, I couldn't show my face next weekend at COTA. I'll be instructing next weekend. And there's a big Porsche Schnellfest next weekend. So everybody come out for that. Yeah, I would not hear the end of it if I didn't at least place well here.
I would think at this point you're going to have to start branding your sessions. Have the chance to learn from PCA Sim Racing Series podium finisher.
Yeah, maybe I can charge like a VIP upcharge.
Put it on all the flyers and make sure they stick it around the paddock and say, you could learn from anyone, or you could learn from a proven race car driver.
Right. Well, tomorrow we'll be coaching at Eagles Canyon, and Billy Smith will be doing a couple sim coaching lessons, or talking to the drivers about sim racing
As a tool when you can't always get behind the track of a real race car. Interesting. And no surprise that Billy's doing it. Billy also a Maverick region member and the champion of Series 1 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. So
Yeah.
let's just say that Texas is really well represented in this, and good that they have a good night tonight. Leaf, as always, before we let you go, send your shout outs, your thank yous, and let everyone know who makes it happen for you.
Yeah, I want to shout out to my my region, my teammate Billy Smith, all the guys, all the instructors in the Maverick region, Lone Star, Hill Country. Just a great time, great bunch of guys, and I look forward to seeing them next week.
Leaf, congratulations on your third place finish tonight from all of us here in the booth at Podium and from the PCA. We look forward to seeing you at Virginia International Raceway in 1 week's time.
Look forward to it. Thank you, guys.
It's Leif Peterson, who finishes at P3. And man, see, we had the likes of Burris's final thoughts. We have David Schildhouse's House of final thoughts. Can we come up with like something Z related, Cisco? You have Z's in your name. That's unique, right? Could you like Zorro your way into a final thought or 2 or 3? 4?
I thought you were either going to go, what about my router of final thoughts?
Your router? It is a joke that has passed over my head. I feel kind of
Cisco's router of final thoughts.
crickets.
Wow. Okay. That really didn't work. Or I'll explain it to you after the show. But nonetheless, James, I'll take it from here, and nonetheless, and have to say that it was a really interesting race here from Coda. It's a track that's very different. Like I said when I was talking to Gresham, it's an FIA style track. Like I said, it's a Tilka style track, and that's kind of the racing that we saw today. You know, once again, the cases of breaking points extremely important, and since you don't have the mechanical and the just the flat out grip at all of those Formula One style cars, it makes it for a more challenging race here at Circuit of the Americas. It makes you have to really get every single one of those main apexes where you're coming onto those long straightaways. You have to get that absolutely right, and you have to be absolutely on point with your racing line going through the S's and hitting every single apex. And for William Levesque, it was we're talking about the instruction. Well, he just put on the clinic here from Circuit of the Americas. And well, the next track we're going to, James, we're not going to the Nürburgring because it's not North America, but I'd say it's about America's version of the Nürburgring.
Just in terms of all the green that you'll see at Virginia International Raceway, which is the next place that you'll see the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series from VIR, not terribly far away from my neck of the woods, but in either case, September 20th, 9:15 p.m. Eastern here on the iRacing Esports Network for the broadcast of Round 6 of Series 2 of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series. But before then, one more event to tell you about. If you like the Podium crew and like what you've heard tonight, be sure to tune into twitch.tv/Podium Esports on Sunday night, September 15th, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, this Sunday night to be particular. It's the Stock Car Challenge Series powered by iRacing iFlag from Watkins Glen International. The Class A stock cars, the Cup cars, as most people know them as, will take to Watkins Glen, which is a track that they run in real life, but they don't run the boot. We'll be running the boot on Sunday night, so that'll make things a little bit interesting. And I suppose on a personal note, if you want to find the voice of Podium Esports out and about, anybody in attendance at the IndyCar season finale in Monterey at Laguna Seca, I'll wave, I'll say hi, I'll jump around, I'll certainly be around. So keep your eyes peeled for a famous voice that you know amongst the paddock there as we find out who's going to claim the IndyCar title in, just over a week's time, I'd say. And I get to adventure out on the West Coast a little bit. So, think that
James, I think it'll be I think it'll be someone in a Delara. I think. I'm not sure.
Seems like a pretty good bet to me. Those Delaras look really, really quick, don't they? No, he doesn't think they're quick. He just thinks they're pretty nifty. All right, fine. I see how it is. Just like the router joke. He's going to leave me on a sour note to end the evening, which, you know, to be fair, is exactly what I would expect from Cisco Scaramuza, our producer and broadcaster extraordinaire. So credit to Cisco for pulling double duty this evening, and a big, big hand to our favorite Chicago. And with all due respect to everybody in Chicago, I encourage you. But for all of us at Podium Esports, for DJ Lion, for Gary Sexton, for John Theodore, for Cisco, and everybody at PCA, Jim Hemming, Doug Atkinson, Mike Knight, and everybody on the steering committee that makes this series possible, I am James Pike, the voice of Podium Esports. Thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the Porsche Club of America Sim Racing Series from Circuit of the Americas. We look forward to seeing you 1 week from tonight at VIR.